So, distinguished Toastmaster Satish Menon, are you being understood? Are you being understood? Distinguished Toastmaster Satish.
For those of us who have read the book, The Godfather, the best line of persuasion I have read is in that book, in which Don Corleone says, I will send some of my guys to meet up with him. Now, we don't ever want to use that kind of persuasion anytime in our lives. But yes, persuasion comes in different forms and different ways. And we have all been persuaded from the time we were children. Imagine as a kid, you were persuaded to eat food which you didn't like. And there were different form of persuasion which our parents would have used. Because they would have told you about the qualities of that food, good qualities. If you still did not buy into it, they would have bought the fear factor, which would have been if you don't eat, some demon will come and grab you, right? Especially at night. If nothing works, some of us would have got a slap on the face to say, now eat it. And most often than not, the last one would have worked. So persuasion comes in different forms and sizes. As we grew up, when we go to school, some of us didn't have a choice to say what subjects we will take because the syllabus was pretty much the standard syllabus. But even in that, there were certain subjects which we loved, there are certain subjects which we did not love. Now, for those subjects that we did not love, we were persuaded by our parents to say, yes, you should do it, because only then you will get good marks in the matriculation and then you can take up engineering or medicine or any other subject which was considered prime. Some persuasion came from the teachers, which was a kind of persuasion of comparing you with the others. The comparison is also a kind of persuasion. They will say, look, how that guy or that person in the class always tops the subject. What about you? You've got the potential, but you don't experience that, use that potential. Okay. So then you kind of get persuaded to follow that person. What sometimes we call as a role model, unconscious role models, but it's also a form of persuasion. The third kind of persuasion which somebody would have used is to bring out the love for that subject into you, which is a very difficult thing, but that's the best form of persuasion, like to make you love the subject. And how did they make you love the subject? By teaching it in a manner that you found that you are not learning anything, but you are understanding a lot of things. A dry subject like maths, some of you might be agree, you would have had a dislike for it, but sometimes based on the teacher who taught it to you in some class, you would have developed a liking for it. Because the teacher taught it in such a way that you felt, yes, this is something that I love to do. For some people, it could be languages. For some people, it could be history. But the kind of persuasion that came up by making you love a subject, by making you understand that this one goes above marks. This one goes just above writing exams. This is about learning. That is something that made you love the subject. So persuasion by fear, persuasion by comparing you to others, and persuasion by making you love something because you want to do it. That's a most effective form of persuasion. In professional lives, when we are working, sometimes bosses will come and tell you that this is what you want, I want to get done. I don't care, but tomorrow I want this assignment done. Now that is persuasion through fear, okay, or persuasion by pulling authority. You do it because the boss is telling you to do it, and you do it because you feel that if I don't do it, I'll lose my job or I'll lose out that promotion. So you kind of do it. That's a kind of persuasion which comes by showing authority. The other kind of persuasion that comes again in professional organizations is by offering incentives. So if you do this, you will get a promotion. If you do this, you will get a bonus. Okay. If you do this, we'll send you on an overseas assignment. And then because you have that bonus or that incentive at the end of it, a lot of people do their best to get that incentive. which is again, a form of persuasion. So you don't really want to do it, but since there is an incentive at the end of it, you say like, okay, let me do it. The third kind of persuasion, which you also see in corporates, is when people say, you do this because you will learn at the end of it. Now, there's no incentive that is tagged onto it. Incentive might be a byproduct of if you do this, but you are given an assignment where you are not technically competent at that point of time to do it. But you take it up because somebody said that if you do this, you will learn something. You will enhance your skills. You can become the next project manager or the next team lead. And then when you do that, you are doing it because there is an interest for you to develop yourself. You're not doing this because somebody forced you to do it. And the fourth kind of incentive which is there is when they say, let's do it for a larger cause. Okay. So let's do this because if we do this, our company will get the next big assignment from the customer, or our company will be known as an organization that delivers much beyond expectation. So that's persuading you to go for a bigger cause. Now, staying on that same subject, bigger cause is what politicians and rulers used in the past. Some of them use it even today to look at the bigger cause for the country. So the moment you say it is for the country, you drop everything and say, yes, I will go and do it. Because there is a bigger cause involved there. It's not about me. It's not about what I will get by doing that. It's not about whether my life will become better after the end of it, but it's like you're saying, yes, you need to do this for the country. You need to do this for the betterment of the country. You need to contribute for a bigger cause. That's also a form of persuasion because they're telling you to work for a bigger cause. So persuasion comes in all types and shapes, and we've all encountered that at every point of time in our lives. But the underlying message in all of this is you can always tell somebody to do something only if that person likes it, only if that person is willing to do it, only if that person says, yes, this is going to benefit me. So always understand what is in the interest of that person. And if you can understand that interest, you will always be able to persuade somebody to do something. Thank you, and back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster Satish Menon, for that wonderful speech. So I'm not going to add any pointers over there, then I will lose my pointers as an evaluator. So let's
control now our Toastmaster of the day to evaluate our first target speaker, distinguished Toastmaster Satish Menon's speech.
Thank you, Toastmaster Vigneshwar. Blaise Pascal once said beautifully, people are convinced by the reason they discover themselves rather than by the words said by others. And today I understood of the meaning of it after hearing our distinguished Toastmaster Satish Menon's speech. What a great speech he said, starting the speech with the book Godfather, one of my favorite book as well. So that definitely would have captured the attention of people. What is he going to say about that book? And if I'm going to talk about your hand gestures, eye contact, voice modulation, then it will be completely absurd because we know what a great speaker you are. So I'm going to put aside all those things, which are all very great. So and I love the way you gave a light humor here and there. They will try to persuade us to study. And at one point of time, if they can't persuade us, they will give a tight slap and make us study. That is also one kind of persuasion, I should say. A non-verbal communication of persuasion, I should say. That was a good humor in your speech. I loved it. And the way you explain the different types of persuasion with examples. Rather than saying these are all the persuasion and this is what persuasion is all about, when we give good examples, when we give stories, when we give examples, people will be able to understand it beautifully. And I loved the way you gave the example of persuasions and explaining the persuasion along with that. And one thing I underlined and I loved in your speech, you haven't said it directly, but you have said indirectly, like everyone will work on one term, WIIFTM. What is in there for me? When you correctly hit that point, when you give an answer for that, what is in there for me, people will definitely get persuaded and they will do things. And you give a subtle way of giving the answer. You need to give an answer of the question, what is in there for me? I loved all these things in your speech. I don't have much of recommendations or suggestions, but I have two things in your speech I have noticed. One is, I kind of felt the speech as a completely in a narrative way. So adding like how in over a pizza, how we are adding those oregano and chili flakes, adding here and there, some flavors will add more, make your speech more flavorful. Like when you said that they, after one point of time, they will say like, if you don't eat, demon will come and catch you. If you can incorporate it in a dialogue mode, have you ever seen mother say, you don't eat good, demon will come and catch you. So when you change that narration into a dialogue, the speech will become more flavorful. And second, I kind of felt the speech is one single paragraph. So if we can see some sections here and there, it will be easy for us to absorb the speech and move forward and enjoy the speech more. So these are all the two suggestions, not exactly recommendations, but suggestions from my side. But altogether, we as usual loved your speech with all your beautiful stories, suggestions, and examples. Thank you for the wonderful speech, and over to the general evaluator.